Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, your girl, Elena Grace, and you are listening to another episode of I've Been Thinking with guest host, Adam.
Hello.
Adam and I are here to provide you with some incredible preparatory content for this holiday season, beginning with family horror stories. Hopefully... So I sourced these from Reddit. I actually asked people on Reddit to send me their horror stories, and I got a handful. What?
Saying horror stories.
I say horror.
Horror.
Okay, funny enough, I actually got not in trouble, but my mom thought I was calling somebody a whore one time when I was a little kid. She was like, "What'd you say?" And I was like, "She's a whore." And she was like, "Okay, Elena."
I'd agree with your mom.
Speak up a little bit.
I would agree with your mother.
You're annoying. Chewing your gummy bears into the microphone. Anyway, so stop reading it. I told you to stop. So, welcome to this hot mess of an episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. We did something like this a while back. Well, last year, I guess, for Halloween, where I read Adam ghost stories and told him ghost stories. And of course, he didn't believe any of them.
Well, ghosts are not real.
Ghosts are real. I have experienced them myself.
It's just misjudgment and not rationally thinking about things.
We're yin and yang. Anyway, so we both have some wild families, and they're funny. Both of our families are funny. So I wanted to do this together, and maybe then afterwards you guys can send some of your family horror stories in, and we can share them with each other, bond over them, yada yada. But first, before we get into the episode, I did want to remind you guys to check out the Patreon if you want to support the podcast and, support it monetarily. You can do it month to month. You can do a one-time, whatever you want to do. But I do want to announce that everybody who joins this month, the amount of income on Patreon for the month of November is going to be donated to help to help families who can't afford holiday meals have beautiful, tasty, nutritious holiday meals. So, and maybe like to help some little kids get toys and stuff like that too. That's really important to me. Christmas is very important to me, the holiday season in general. So I wanted to do what I could, and right now that is that's what we can do. So I'm really excited about that. Aren't you, Adam?
Very excited.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just told him today. Okay, so you ready to get started? Mm-hmm. So for all of you all, before I forget again, it's patreon.com/I've been thinking. Everybody that joins, $5, $3, $10, whatever it is, you will be contributing to helping some families have a holiday who might not have had it before. So thank you for that. Now, let's get into it. So, this is our first family dinner horror story, and I chose it for a very specific reason, okay? I chose it because Adam and I can both relate to it. So, here we go.
We'll see.
She said, I don't know if it counts as a horror story, but it is pretty funny and very on brand for me. Trigger warning, vomiting, but not due to an eating disorder. When I was around 7 or 8, my dad had remarried to an absolute witch of a woman. We lived in a different state from them, so most of the time it didn't bug my siblings and me. But whenever we would visit, once every couple years or so, we had to suck it up and just deal with it. We didn't like her, but dealt with her for my dad. She didn't have kids of her own, so she tried, quote, mothering us whenever we were there. My siblings are both 5 and 6 years older than me, respectively, so I had to deal with most of that nonsense. I've always hated confrontation, so I would just kind of shut my mouth and take it. But she would draw my baths for me and try to bathe me, which is super freaking weird, and I knew it then too. Yeah, that's gross. She never did anything untoward, thank God, but I still hated it. I told my dad I didn't like it, but he said to just humor her because she so badly wanted kids of her own. She eventually stopped when I told her myself that I knew how to draw and take a bath on my own. So one year, when I was 9 or 10, we were visiting for Christmas, and she had made a big pot of sauerkraut. I was a pretty picky eater back then and had never even heard of sauerkraut, so I was adamant that I didn't want any on my plate. My dad said that I had to at least try it. Pretty fair thing to say and understandable to ask of a child. As many families did back then, we had the clear your plate rule, meaning whatever was on your plate had to be eaten even if you were done or didn't like it. So imagine my horror when my dad's wife put a giant heap of sauerkraut on my plate. As I said before, I'm extremely non-confrontational, but when feeling attacked, I can get incredibly passive-aggressive. I ate everything around the mound of mush and then just kind of sulked. My dad started getting increasingly angry with me and told me I had to eat it all. I told him that I was full and felt sick. He told me that he didn't care. It was on my plate. I had to eat it. I complained that I hadn't served it to myself, and I told him it was too much. His wife told me I had to eat it all. I sulked some more. Dad said I couldn't leave the table until it was all gone. It was almost time to open up Christmas Eve presents, so I had to do it. So I ate it all. Every rancid bite, and then I primly excused myself from the table, walked to the restroom, shoved my fingers down my throat, and threw up. I walked back into the dining room, looked at my stepmom, and said, "Your sauerkraut made me vomit," and then went to watch whatever movie was playing in the living room. Now that my dad is blessedly divorced from this woman, we tell this story and laugh, but back then, woof. We both did that, Adam.
What?
Yeah. So, guys, my parents one time made me eat cooked carrots. And it wasn't on a holiday. It was just like a Tuesday. But my mom had like cooked carrots or whatever. And my dad doesn't eat cooked carrots. So I don't know why it was this big deal. Unless maybe it was in a roast. Anyway, he doesn't eat carrots.
It tastes like roast if they were in the roast.
No, they were disgusting. I hate the texture. I hate cooked carrots, and I always have. And I told my parents I didn't like them, and they told me clean your plate. The 90s, am I right? And I said, okay. And I took one bite and immediately threw up on the kitchen table. And they were furious with me, but I never got asked to eat cooked carrots again.
That's good.
Adam, you threw up, what was it? Lima beans. Yeah,
I like them now. I don't go for them. They're not my go-to choice, but I don't mind them anymore.
But
Not because of what happened, though. I was forced to eat them, and I was sitting at the table for 2 hours after everyone else was done, and I threw up because I ate a whole bowl of them. But I got yelled at, not because I had thrown up, but because, quote, you did that on purpose. So, not like the story that was just read. I will never gag myself and force myself to throw up. I feel like that's a... I just stood there after, throwing up, and just like, it's unbelievable how you're mad at me for throwing up, telling you that these taste disgusting. So...
I can see all of this. Adam's not really like that, what he just said. He's just...
Put the disclaimer at the end of the video.
He's just trying to get on my nerves. Okay, I just have to clarify that. Okay, this one is Thanksgiving related. It says, when I was about 10, Thanksgiving was hosted at my house. There was already some family drama between two of my aunts from years before. They refused to attend the same parties and never wanted to speak of the other or about anything involving my cousins. I was much older, and when I finally knew why. Apparently, Aunt A thought Aunt B was trying to sleep with her husband, and when Aunt B denied the accusation, claiming they were just good friends, Aunt A refused to ever speak to Aunt B again, and vice versa. Anyway, Thanksgiving at my house this particular year. A truce was set and everyone was invited for dinner. Naturally, each aunt was in their separate corner with their kids and each generally ignored one another, but there weren't any sly glances or whispered insults, so we had dinner in peace. Now, the drama begins. Aunt B decided to leave the party first. She said her farewells and grabbed her kids to load them in the car. My mom, a few more aunts and cousins, went out with her to thank her for coming and being a good sport. Her eldest son, my least favorite cousin, was approached by a little girl walking his way from across the street. She said hello and asked if so-and-so was his dad. He said yeah, and she straight up said, "He's my dad too. You're my brother." Just a random little girl on the street. Dead silence. Everyone knew it was true except for my aunt and her kids. The reason I didn't like this cousin was because he was just like his dad, arrogant, stubborn, macho. The apple did not fall from the tree. Whenever her husband came to drink at parties without his wife, he'd laugh about all his affairs and the hush money he paid to keep the other kids fed. He mocked the man who was raising his kids as his own and who knew his wife was openly unfaithful. I had no doubts my cousin would be just as scummy when he grew up. He, the cousin, made a disgusted face and told her she was too dirty and full of fleas to be anything special. She started crying and Aunt B called her a little liar and that she needed to go back home instead of spreading lies. She just shoved my cousin in the car and drove away. The little girl ran back home. We were all shocked into silence, but my mom was pissed. She immediately went to Aunt A and demanded to know if she'd been the one to orchestrate everything. She denied it, but for someone who loved to gossip, she was very cool about the whole thing. Everyone knew. After everyone left, I asked my mom why no one had ever told Aunt B about her unfaithful husband and the other kids, but my mom told me she'd actually known for a long time. I thought they'd get a divorce for sure after that day, but everything went on like it always did, and my cousin still thinks that girl is lower than the dirt on his shoes. What an awful man.
I think that, I don't know why families do that, is when they know something like that could, potentially be a big thing in a marriage, and they just choose not to be involved or talk about it.
Yeah, and it drives me crazy too, because, I've had that happen in my family where where not that I even care about these people that I'm talking about, but where one of my uncles is like wildly unfaithful to his wife, and God knows why. He's nothing special, is he?
No. No.
He's nothing special. I don't understand what attracts women to him. But, I mean, maybe it's his arrogance. I don't know. But he has had affairs and affairs and affairs. And I know that his aunt, or his wife, my aunt, who is a sweet, dear little woman. She is a little angel of a woman. I know she knows about a lot of them, and she has confronted him before, but I know that one of the stances the family takes is basically like, don't tell us about it. We don't want to be involved. We don't want to be held liable for anything, basically. And then they're like, it's just not our business. It's not our place to say anything. I always try to bring it up in front of Mama because, I just like to stir the pot sometimes. So I like to bring it up in front of Mama so that she'll, get tore up. But now that she's, 88, I probably am not going to do that anymore. She's too fragile now.
I think she'll be okay.
She'll be okay, but,
Nobody's died from words.
I don't know. You never know. Yeah, I don't get why families don't do that, or why people don't do that. I don't know. If I found out, when I thought that guy at the gym had a different girl with him, I was ready to go lay into him. Turned out his girlfriend just dyed her hair. But I told her, I was like, hey, first of all, I really like that hair color on you. Second of all, I was about to lay into your boyfriend because I thought he was here with some other girl, but it's just you. So, hey, I like your hair. Adam didn't believe me. He didn't think I was going to do that, but I was going to.
You're not very confrontational.
You say that now. Adam knows this, weird version of me where it's the majority of our relationship has been during COVID. So I've not been around as many people. I'm not quite as outgoing as I used to be because I've been locked in a house for 1 year and 3 quarters. It's interesting. It's an interesting new version of me. Okay, another one. This one was submitted completely anonymously.
Why?
Because he didn't want it being tied back to his Reddit. Because he, knows people on his Reddit, and he didn't want everybody to know this was his family. Okay, he was like, you can use this. He sent me a message. He was like, you can use this, but...
don't use my name.
Don't use my
name. You
name.
haven't ratted anyone out yet.
No, I've not, but I was going to include the link to the Reddit thread in the blog post. So if you all want to go check that out, there's a little bit more discussion on some of these, that kind of thing. So, yeah, the link to the Reddit thread will be on Ziblog. Okay, so... This family holiday horror story begins during a summer when I was an undergrad in a medium-sized southern U.S. city, which I'm very intrigued about. Where is it? Knoxville, maybe. Maybe Knoxville. I'm just guessing.
There's a lot of southern states.
I know.
And cities in those states with universities.
Oh, wow, you're so right. I had no idea. I'm so stupid. I only have 2 degrees. So...
Look where that's got you.
Okay. One weekend, I was on the way to a club with a neighbor. We were both planning to see the same band, so we decided to walk together. She mentioned on the way that she needed to grab some money from a guy that owed her. It was right on the way. I didn't think much of it until someone opened the door to the apartment and she asked for Scary Larry. We waited for a good 5 minutes. Nothing. She finally knocked again and pushed her way in. We found Scary Larry and 4 others munching chips on stained couches watching anime. They were pretty clearly high on something. I wondered this, the first time I recall seeing Scary Larry, if he had got the name because he had done scary things or just the hollowed out scarecrow look he had. She asked for the money he owed her, and though he did not get the money, he then increasingly aggressively tried to talk her into staying, pulling on her, alternating between anger and pleading. I had been calmly trying to de-escalate, but I finally spoke up loudly when she more clearly conveyed she wasn't staying. Scary Larry got in my face and asked who the fuck I was to say that she was leaving. I told him no one, but she said she's leaving, so that's her decision. I'm leaving too, so we're leaving. We started to walk out, and he blocked the door. I told him to move, and he shoved me. Again, Larry, move, and don't touch me again. At this point, I'm looking for weapons. I see a bat behind the door. He cussed at me and went to shove me again, and I picked him up and smashed him through the coffee table in the middle of the room. Wow. I grabbed the bat. Again, he had 4 friends right there, but his 4 friends, they just laughed and berated him. We left. All she ever said was, sorry about that.
What, is she a rugby player and he's like 120? She threw him.
No, she didn't throw him. The poster threw him. OP. Yeah, OP's a dude.
Here was I thinking they are both women. I don't know why.
He said to keep it anonymous.
You did.
I did.
You did.
I did. About 5 months later, I was back from my out-of-state school for Thanksgiving. My parents were pretty happy that my little sister was planning to come to dinner. Long side story short. That's a weird way to say that. Side story. Long side story short.
Epiphany.
It had been a somewhat rocky road for her. Failed out of high school initially, was stripping, alcoholic boyfriend, etc. But she was getting back on track. They were less happy about the 2 guests she brought. Scary Larry was a fine guest by mine and my sister's standards. It was a bit sad to see how much he, I think, genuinely appreciated my mother's cooking. And her cooking is terrible, he says in parentheses. Maybe that's why. I didn't get the other friend's name, both with Larry only saying it with a mouthful of food and the friend's jaw being mostly wired shut. But I think he enjoyed the Thanksgiving meal that we put dish by dish through the blender for him. But my parents didn't appreciate Larry's vulgar sense of humor, or either of their lack of table manners. They progressed to speaking in German. The parents progressed to speaking in German.
I think so.
Well, I just
Scary
wanted to
Larry
clarify.
Doesn't really seem like the bilingual type.
He doesn't. He does not. Do you want to go grab your pizza? I'll pause it real quick.
Yeah.
Pizza pause. Pizza play. So,
Would you think of that the whole time?
no, well, I thought of it immediately when I said pizza pause, but I was excited to say it. So the parents progressed to speaking in German, lecturing the little sister about her choice of friends, etc., etc. Larry didn't seem to remember meeting me before at all, even with me repeatedly making potentially memory-jogging jokes. I don't recall if the friend was one of the guys that had laughed at him back in the summer, but he never seemed to make the connection. What kind of jokes are you making? Like, man, that turkey's so good it'll pick you up and throw you through the table.
Maybe, I guess.
Man, that gravy's so good, it owes me money. Like, the first one was better, wasn't it?
Yeah, that second one, I kind of...
Fell flat.
Very flat.
Like Larry through the table.
Ah.
All right. In the end, they happily went home with substantial doggy bags. My mom refers to that as the meth head Thanksgiving and has forever since more closely scrutinized guest lists.
I have never heard leftovers referred to as doggy bags.
They're often referred to as
No
doggy
one
bags.
says that.
Lots of people says that. Say that. Lots of people says that.
I wasn't arguing.
I know, I appreciate it.
Unlike you. You point out anytime someone says something wrong.
Oh, please, get out of here. Anyway, have you ever had a weird guest at a holiday?
Yeah, I mean, we've had, not necessarily bringing strangers, but newly exiled family members over that had been druggies or whatnot, and not ideal to be around, and then they get kicked out eventually because they
really?
start a scene or something, yeah. So,
Wow.
well, if I had a daughter and she had fallen off the beaten path that far and she brought some methy and his groupies to a family gathering, I would not allow her in.
Yeah. I know that's hard because, I don't know, I feel like that's just a situational thing for sure. But, because I get where you're coming from, absolutely. But it's hard because, like, you want to make sure your daughter has a meal and that she's not going to starve on the street. You know?
I don't know, make better choices.
Adam has a colored past when it comes to,
Helping people that don't deserve it.
and well, yeah, and family members who take advantage. So he's a little bit of a, what's the term? A skeptic, we'll
No.
say. I know that's not the right term, but it's a word that fits.
Whatever.
Anyway, which I get. I don't blame you. I really don't. I can't think of any holiday where somebody has shown up that like wasn't invited or anything. I really I'm trying and I can't.
No.
But what I have always loved is and that this has never really happened at a holiday, but we usually have family dinners on Sundays. Like before COVID, every Sunday we had dinner after church together at my grandma's house, my mom's. And that same uncle that I was talking to you about before that had the that has like numerous affairs is a hot mess. And his daughter thinks that I'm like, that my mom and I are like out to get her. Well, actually, both of his daughters do. When in reality, we don't really think about them much.
Out to get who?
Them. They think that we like hate them, but they don't even cross our minds most of the time. But my mom just like basically said something in passing to one of his daughters one day, like, oh, I didn't know your daughter was big enough to ride like outside of the booster seat. And that cousin thought my mom was like making a jab at her mothering skills, even though they're not great. And the kid shouldn't have been out of it. And the kid didn't have a seatbelt on. So there's a lot going on there. But she went and told my uncle that my mom said something to her. So then next Sunday, my uncle comes in, gets in my mom's face, and just starts tearing into her for no reason. Absolutely, like, for a reason he thought, but my mom had no idea what was going on. And he's just tearing into her. And so one of my other uncles and my aunt come, and they're like trying to separate them. And they're trying to pull my mom away because she's like sobbing because she doesn't know what's going on. And he's just in her face, like finger pointing, bawling her out. And then I get up to come see what the heck's going on. And they grabbed me because they thought I was going to hit him. And I told both of them, I said, you don't touch me. And they took their hands off of me. And they said, just don't hit him. I said, I'm not going to hit him.
Why not?
Well, for all that he did deserve it, I wasn't going to hit him.
He couldn't take a punch.
No, he couldn't take a punch. But that is why they didn't want me to hit him, because they were scared I'd hit him and then I'd give him another stroke and that'd be the one that killed him.
Bye.
Anyway,
Doesn't seem like anyone will miss him.
then got them separated. They like took my mom off into a different room, left said uncle unattended. Okay, so he follows me into what I think he thought was an empty room, and he starts telling me how I've got the whole family fooled. And they all think that I'm so perfect. And I told him that perhaps if any of his children spent any time with the family and didn't just use them for food and money and childcare, that the rest of the family would like his kids as much as they like me. And he said, well, that's not true. And my other uncle, who is completely non-confrontational and doesn't usually join in any of the family drama, told him that it was true. And I told said troublemaking uncle that he needed to leave because he was making an ass of himself. And said non-confrontational uncle, who probably has never said a cuss word in his life, agreed.
Nice.
Nice. That is one of my favorite family drama stories. That's actually the tax I paid to get this on Reddit. I said,
You had to give one.
I will give one if
Show
you
me
will.
yours, you show me yours.
Exactly.
Oh, that's not right. That's not how you say that.
Show me.
Just give it to me.
Show me yours if you show me yours.
I'll just copy and paste it right back to you. You're welcome.
Yeah, I paid tax to get some good stories. There was that, and then there was another time something similar to that happened. I thought of it while I was telling the story, but I can't remember it now. Just always some kind of drama, and it always goes back to that part of the family, doesn't it?
Yeah, usually.
Usually.
Everyone else seems pretty nice.
Everyone else is pretty nice.
But then again, your family loves to gossip.
They are little gossips. They are.
Some small towns, they just can't keep to themselves.
Small towns, close-knit families. Yeah. But there was also the time that, oh no, what was I going to say? I lost it again. Oh, there was the time that we were at your family Thanksgiving and my mom texted me and told me that she was going to whoop one of my cousins because she was talking bad about me since I wasn't there. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And I'm wine and turkey hammered on the couch. And I was like, FaceTime me. I'll do it over FaceTime. She was like, no. Oh, that's what I was going to tell. That same uncle that got in my mom's face that time, he got in my face at Thanksgiving one year. But I was helping carve the turkey, and I'm half lit off half a bottle of wine, thankfully, because otherwise I don't know what I would have done. And he got in my face telling me something. And I told him once again, you're making an ass of yourself. You need to back up. I know. Carve him right out.
Well, two things.
Okay, hit me.
One, turkey does not belong at Thanksgiving or any meal because it's terrible. It's the worst meat.
I do want to make it the way Brad on Bon Appetit makes it.
Yeah, I'm glad you now worship him. And two, why the heck does a turkey have to be pardoned? What crimes has he committed?
Well, it's so that he's not eaten.
I know, but they say pardoned as if he had done something atrocious.
So that he's not executed.
I don't know what he did, but if a turkey has to be even brought into question, he probably deserves it,
That's honestly, that's funny.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln is the one who started that tradition.
Yeah, free the slaves, free the turkeys.
They got a turkey brought to the White House early for Thanksgiving one year, and one of his sons just took a liking to the turkey. And he was like, well, shit, we can't execute this turkey. We can't eat this turkey for Thanksgiving. So he pardoned it. And that's where it didn't become a tradition until sometime in the 1900s, maybe even the 70s. I'm not positive. But it was inspired by him doing that. Yeah. Isn't that a fun fact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good trivia.
Good trivia. Well, that's one of the things I've been thinking is all about.
Trivia questions?
Giving you incredible opportunities for conversation starters at parties. Wow. Allison actually said that the other day. She was recommending the podcast to someone. She tagged it.
No.
And she said, great party conversation starters.
Wow. Let me just pull out my note cards of all the stuff I wrote down during these informational sessions.
Guys, that's how you share us with your friends. If you want, you send a DM to one of your friends with today's episode in it and say, this is full of fun stuff to talk about at this year's Thanksgiving party. Friendsgiving. What's the Truthsgiving? Which I will talk about next week.
I don't know anything about that. But, yeah, definitely share it. Otherwise, you'll find razor blades in your turkeys.
I love this man. I love him so much. He's threatening you, in case you didn't notice.
I'm not doing it. It's just going to happen. That's a new thing this year. They've moved away from candy.
Oh.
They caught on to it. And all the PSAs on the...
On Facebook?
The big old knives in your little fun-sized Snickers. Yeah, so now they're hiding them in the turkeys.
Oh, so where are they putting the weed that they're hiding and trying to get to the youths? In the peppermints for Christmas?
Typically, it's a little bit more expensive.
I know,
Nobody gives away
Adam.
free drugs anymore.
I know, that was the joke. That was the joke.
Oh. Wasn't funny. All right.
You're not funny. Okay, guys. Make sure that you share this podcast with somebody that you know will love it, or even with somebody that you want to bother with it. That is possibly even better than somebody who will love it, because I like to bother people. Give us a shout out on your social media, all of the above. Follow us on social media at I've Been Thinking Pod. Stick around. Next week we're doing an awesome episode on the truth behind Thanksgiving. I'm very excited about that. It's the dark history of Thanksgiving. Aliens. No, it's none of those things. Though, this isn't Belief Hole, although we have invited them to come on, which is very exciting. Anyway, yes, listen to next week's episode. Super, super excited about it. It comes out, the day after Thanksgiving.
What is the moon?
November 26th. And like I said, the dark history of Thanksgiving. I'm super excited to bring you guys that. And check out our Patreon once again, patreon.com/I've Been Thinking Pod. Follow us on social media. Share us with your friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. As Linda on Bob's Burgers said, thank you for being here. Thank you for loving me. I'll talk at y'all next week. Bye.
See ya.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream,
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.